Sometimes, in the course of normal living, we run into moments that transcend time, moments that open doors that previously we didn't even know existed, moments that allow us to touch the very essence of a being. I met Helen when I was working as a state social worker. I was doing nursing home inspections, and as part of the job, we would interview a sample of the nursing home residents. Well, on this day, Helen was in my sample. So I walked into her room, announced myself, and explained what my purpose was for being there. Helen was an 88-year-old woman confined to a wheelchair. She was so curled over, she was staring directly down at the floor. She had a large lump on her back that prevented her from looking up and seeing me. But she could look sideways. Helen hadn't had any visitors for a really long time. She was exceptionally lonely. So I sat down on the side of her bed to listen. She started out by telling me that in her younger years, she'd been a concert pianist, a career that she loved. But as she spoke, I was taken in by her hands shrunken and gnarled with arthritis, hands that would have difficulty holding a dinner fork, hands that certainly would never again play a piano. She went on to tell me that after getting married to her husband, who was also a musician, they lived out their lives in New York City, playing in orchestras and giving private music lessons. Helen told me that if she had it to do all over again, she'd do it just the same way, without any changes. Not many people can say that. I know I certainly could. But even though she led this enjoyable life, it all changed when the arthritis set in and her husband died. She stated, matter-of-factly, that she had lived her life and now was just waiting for the good Lord to take her home. As she spoke, I was taken in by her warmth and her simplicity. And then all of a sudden I realized that I had an inspection I was supposed to be doing. So I stood up, excused myself, and turned to leave. But as I did, on her dresser was a picture that caught my eye. It was a picture of a stunning young woman dressed in a short, roaring 20s dress, a flapper dress, with like fringe all around it, and the long pearl necklace that came down past her waist. The image in this picture had a defiant smile, bobbed hair with those little curls that framed the face. She was bold, bright, and dynamic. I stopped and looked back past the bedside commode at Helen, a tiny, crippled up, arthritic woman, now unable to complete even the simplest task by herself. Helen, is that a picture of you? Why, yes, dear. It is. Like a wave washing over me, I sensed the profound social revolution that this woman had taken part in. I said, Helen, were you a young woman during the 1920s? Why, Yes, dear, I was. I was swept up with intrigue for this woman. So I stopped everything, went back to her, and sat down. And like two schoolgirls, comparing notes, I begged her, Helen, what was it like? I mean, really, what was it like to be a young woman in the roaring 20s? Her face lit up with excitement as she took my hand in hers, and with electrified eyes that looked right through me, she said, "It was wild, dear." It was really wild. Oh, Helen, I'll bet it was. I was just full of envy for the wildest of wild times that this woman must have had. Times that I can only vaguely imagine. But in that moment, I realized that this old girl had been a real mover and shaker. I dried my eyes and reflected for a moment. Then I decided that I would confide in her. Helen, I was a young woman in the late 1960s. Oh, again her face lit up. You were? What was that like? Oh, Helen. It was wild, I'm telling you, girl. It was really wild. I felt her wanting to reach into my memories and relive them with me. I'll bet it was, she said as she squeezed my hand again. I'll bet it was. And for a moment, the 50 years that separated us was transparent. For just a moment, we were of one adventure-seeking soul. For a moment, I wasn't a middle-aged state social worker. And she wasn't a decrepit old woman waiting to die alone in a nursing home. For just a moment, we were two women holding hands, reliving memories of the two wildest times of the entire past century. And that's what I have to say about Helen. No different than so many of the interviews that we each have. We've got our little handful, our little special ones. And to me, that's what I come back for. The ones that changed my life, the ones that touch me. Thank you.